playing the Eagles of Lisbon, Benfica. Already on a balmy evening, with a slight breeze to ruffle the flags, but not so much as to discommode the players, and Benfica, all in red, playing right to left, get the 33rd European Cup final underway. Benfica, a side with a defensive orientation, despite their reputation, having conceded only one goal in their 7 matches on the way to this final. 7 as opposed to 8, because, of course, in the first round, they had a walkover, didn't play the second leg against Partizani Tirana of Albania. And that has the look of a defensive team, doesn't it? The man on the ball is Moser, the Brazilian centre-half. And that's Elzo. And then Chiquinho and Veloso. Distinctive blonde head among the swarthy Portuguese and Brazilians is that of Mats Magnusson of Sweden. Moser, the tall Brazilian defender, on the ball now. Sheu replacing Diamantino in the Benfica lineup. And a throw to the Portuguese team. Sheu, veteran, 34 years of age. Throw to be taken by Alvaro, the left back. Koeman, and a first touch. The Dutch goalkeeper, European Championship goalkeeper Hans van Breukelen, with 2 years under Brian Clough at Nottingham Forest. Heinze, one of the 3 Danes. Moser, over the top from Magnusson. And now Herrett, fouled by Mats Magnusson. Herrett and Linskens, the 19-year-old. Keep. Nielsen. Herrett, PSV captain. Keep just staying offside. Game being played at a very leisurely pace in these opening minutes. Chiquinho, put under pressure by Heinze. And Moser very definitely the last man back for Benfica. Magnusson. Easily dispossessed by Lerbu. And you'll notice him, he always has the stockings around the ankles. And Moser caught on the blind side there by Hillhouse. So Hillhouse was fouling him as he went through. It's a free kick to Benfica. But the Brazilian seemed unaware of the presence of the sprinting Dutchman just behind him. Meanwhile, Magnusson goes off in chase at the other end, and Van Aale is with him. And Van Aale has dispossessed him. Came off Pacheco, who lost his boot in the process. And it's a throw to PSV. Worth explaining that the PSV stands for the Philips Sports Club, the big industrial concern in Eindhoven. Started this club 75 years ago as a social and recreational club for its employees. Only in recent times has it become a first a dominant force in Dutch football, and now a dominant force in European football. And rather like Liverpool in England, and this year in Holland, they carried all before them under this man, Guus Hiddink, and won their third title in a row, scoring over 100 goals in the process and setting a Dutch record of 17 successive victories. Heinze, Lerbu, and played inside to Nielsen, dispossessed by Sheu. Koeman, and up the line this time for Keith. But while he managed to stay onside, he hasn't quite managed to keep the ball in play. Chiquinho, Lerbu, and once more. And one back by Linsken. Linsken fouled from behind by Rui Aguas. It's a free kick to PSV. And Koeman, sweeper, forward for Herretz. Well, that's obviously something that was worked out in the training fields of Eindhoven. Herretz arriving at speed, but unable to direct the shot onto the goal. That's what they're playing for. 2'6" tall, over a stone in weight. Silver with a gold inlay inside. The European Cup, 4th edition. 3 times winners Real Madrid, Ajax, Amsterdam, and Bayern Munich all have an original to themselves. Vandenborg did well to get out of that, and now it's Heinze. Heinze beaten there by Veloso, and the throw it'll be to PSV. And they've called up Barry van Aala. Moser heading it away. Koeman trying the shot. And Herretz eventually putting it out of play. Somewhat overhit. Goal kick to the Dutch team. Chiquinho, the man we're looking at now. Chiquinho, one of 3 Brazilians in the Benfica side. Keith ahead of Moser. Rui Aguas. And it's now Nielsen. Pacheco. Sheu. Played towards Magnussen, and he got there, and Rui Aguas has arrived. But rather given away. Heinze, Lerbu. Heinze once more. And Herretz. Vandenborg. No way through. Throw to Eindhoven. See the figure in the middle pointing is Eusebio. Now assistant coach at Benfica. Linsken. Lerbu. Vandenborg. It was right, I think, for Lerbu, and he seemed to appreciate the thought, but wasn't in a position to get on the end of it. Pacheco. Good solid challenge. Oh, was it a good solid challenge, or was it a foul? It was Herretz anyway, the Dutch captain. Dutch captain perhaps, but a Belgian international of considerable experience. Like the foul has been given. Sheu with bootlace trouble. And Luigi Agnolin, the Italian referee. Well, no danger there really to Van Breukelen. Koeman. Looking at these Dutchmen closely, they will be Ireland's third opponents, of course, in the European Championship. That match in Gelsenkirchen on Saturday, June the 18th, 3 weeks from Saturday. And 5 certain members of the squad in this PSV side. Yet another boot has come off. This time it's the boot of Elzo, the Brazilian. Whether there's a shortage of boot laces in Lisbon, I don't know. But that's the third time it's happened, and 3 different players have been involved. Elzo, who kept Falcao out of the Brazilian World Cup side last year. "11 minutes gone. It's PSV Eindhoven 0, Benfica 0. Lerbu for PSV. Koeman moving from the back. And that move was read by Dito. Magnusson. Typically Central European, isn't it? Not at all as what you'd expect from Benfica. A very patient build-up. But it's happened a lot in the past. European Cup finals have been won by a single goal. Not last year, of course, when Porto came from behind to beat Bayern Munich 2-1. Outsiders they were then. PSV very aware of that and don't want to underestimate Benfica, whose current league form gives the lie to their class. It's just that Porto were running away with the league, so they more or less conceded that, held back on star players, and finished the league campaign unconvincingly. But holding back on star players didn't prevent them losing Diamantino through injury. It's Linskens, Moser with him, and the second defender is Alvaro, and that's given PSV a corner. Edward Linskens, 19 years of age, got the away goal in Madrid, by virtue of which PSV knocked out Real and have arrived here. You'll be used to this camera angle in the European Championships. So from all the corners, they'll show a picture like that. There's Koeman with a shot. Goal kick. Ronald Koeman, he may play as a sweeper, but he scored 21 goals from that position for PSV this year. Watch of the blonde-headed figure in the middle there. Lerbu wrote the ball to him. He got hold of it all right, but he seemed to have lost sight of where the goal was. And he's one of the Dutchmen who figure in the European Championships. On the ball again. Cut out there by Alvaro. Spannenborg. Heinze. Forced into a hurried pass by the pace of the ball, and it's out for a throw to Benfica. Worth reiterating that it is a very warm evening in Stuttgart. Temperatures in the high 70s today, yesterday afternoon after morning's rain. And not the kind of night that you'd feel like exerting yourself too much if you weren't a professional footballer. Shirt sleeves all around in the gallery. Big Ivan Nielsen coming in. Now it's Koeman, Herretz and Linskens. Van Aale. Van Aale, a midfield player, playing rather as a second sweeper at the moment. He's adopted a very deep role. Him on the ball again. And that was aimed towards Herretz. It's taken on the proportions of a game of chess, really. Both sides trying to size each other up for possible weaknesses. That's how it stands, just over the quarter of an hour gone. Sheu. Magnussen. No offside. It's an intelligent ball. But the player responding, Rui Aguas, was rather late in so doing. And a goal kick is what has resulted. If he should score tonight, he'll continue a remarkable record. For his father, Jose Aguas, scored for Benfica in both their winning finals. And if Benfica should win, then Jose and Rui will be the first father and son to hold European medals. Vandenborg. Nicely played twice. See why they call him Geraldinho. Knocked back in by Hillhouse, who had committed a foul. Again, the long ball played into the channel, policed by Eric Herretz. Well, there is Eusebio, the great man. Still very much a hero, still very much a target for the autograph hunters. Heinze taking the rebound and finding a way through. Heinze's cross deflected out. Another corner to PSV. Credit to the Benfica defender who, when beaten in those circumstances, didn't simply chop him down, which is a feature of modern football that's become all too prevalent. We're looking at Hillhouse. The corner is floated in and headed away by Moser and on by Sheu. Magnussen completing the job. Pacheco, and that was Herretz in hard, fairly throw to Benfica. Pacheco finding no way through. Free kick's been awarded against Herretz. Sheu. And again. To Rui Aguas. Lerbu getting it away. Vandenborg, Celso, and assisted by Lerbu. Did well to recover. Kieft, Koeman, offside. And Hillhouse, top European Cup scorer with 3 to his credit. Top, that is, for PSV Eindhoven. Magnussen. Veloso. And Magnussen continuing the run. Koeman there to avert the danger. Good length in that clearance from Van Breukelen. Moser. And back that'll go to Silvino. Tito. Looking for Magnussen, who was marked all the way by Koeman. We do that all night. But a game that is yet to take fire. Here goes Nielsen. Vandenborg, Lerby. That shot rather typical of what's gone before. 21 minutes gone and not a shot in anger in either goal. And needless to say, the score of the first quarter of the match reaches its conclusion is 0-0. Tito. Carrots away. Well played by Sheu. They've adopted a fluid formation at this stage, Benfica. Up goes Pacheco. Sheu has gone back to sweep and Tito has gone forward. Ball played in there by Alvaro, but the whistle had gone offside against him. Alvaro, Portuguese team's left back. Strangely muted the crowd has been, but at last the Benfica end is finding its voice. Vandenborg. That's one for Linskens to chase. Moser's gone with him. Moser got the touch. That's played it to Veloso. Free kick to Benfica. Chiquinho, too many Dutchmen around. Linskens, and finally fouled by Elzo. So PSV push everyone forward, and then Koeman wastes the free kick. He made life difficult for himself. Rui Aguas couldn't keep the ball in play. Remarkable fella. His sister is one of the most famous pop singers in Portugal. I think that doesn't make him remarkable, but it certainly makes the family remarkable. What's remarkable now, what we're not seeing, is the referee has just had a word with him, kicking the ball away. That's out. Didn't go out there. Perez up the line to Keith. Throw to PSV. And they've brought the wave from Mexico to Holland. Perez winding up for the long throw. Plenty of heads went for it, but no one got a clean contact. That's Magnusson feeling the pain. And the ball sportingly put out of play to enable Magnusson to get attention with a crack in the eyebrow. All the heads went up, and he felt it most. Swedish shiner in the morning, I would have thought, but no blood spilled. And the game can resume with a throw to PSV Eindhoven. 25 minutes gone, and it's 0-0. The play won't resume just yet. The ice pack is for Elzo. Elzo, the Brazilian midfield player. 12 caps. "26 years of age. And a man on whom a lot depends in this match, in the absence of Diamantino, the playmaker for Benfica. On we go then. Lerbu's throw totally wasted. The game's not yet half an hour old. It may be early enough to say it, but it certainly hasn't been a European Cup final of the highest quality as yet. Both sides perhaps conscious of the importance of the occasion and reluctant to commit themselves to any kind of risk, and they've neutralized each other. That's Gilhouse. Moser away. Neither goalkeeper has yet had a shot to save. Rui Aguas been fouled by Ivan Nielsen, Danish defender. Magnusson. Don Arla sticking to his marking job. And he won a free kick. Illegal use of the elbow by Magnusson. Nielsen joining the attack. The wrong ball to play. There were two markers around his man. And in any event, Keith had backed into the defender. Well, this is the European Cup final. Benfica and PSV Eindhoven as well is scarcely entering into the spirit of the occasion. And that's why it's like that. Kuman, sloppy clearance. Magnusson over the top, and Keretz putting it out. The 30 minutes gone. A corner to Benfica. Pacheco to take it. Moser. And Linskin's getting into trouble. Magnuson. And for the first time we've seen a goalkeeper dive. Sloppy defending by PSV contributing to that. Maybe that'll sting them into some retaliation. Owerbu. Kielholz. No trouble to Moser. Veloso. Throw to Eindhoven. Veloso the right back. Koeman. Vandenborg. Koeman continuing with his run forward and beating Veloso. And across came Dito, but he couldn't keep it in play. PSV have a throw. And to take it, Benny van Aarle. Vandenborg. Lerby. And off went Heinze. And Heinze pulling in the cross, but there was no one there. Even had he pulled in a decent cross, should have been able to make anything of it. And it seems quite obvious that both sides have committed themselves to a very conservative, probing game in the hope that some chance presents itself and they can snap it up and then shut up shop for the rest of the match. Leroux, Vandenborg, and Linskins. Still Linskins. Moser across the cover. And the goal kick is what results. It's perhaps worth pointing out that although PSV have the reputation as a team of goal scorers in Holland, it's maybe more of a reflection of the Dutch league than anything else. But in Europe, they've needed the away goals rule to get them through both their quarter-final and their semi-final. They drew 1-1 in Bordeaux and 0-0 at home against Bordeaux. And the same thing happened with Real Madrid. 1-1 in the Bernabeu, 0-0 in Holland. Rui Aguas. And for a moment, it appeared there was a spark of inspiration. Here he is again. Alvaro. Sheu. Ball out to the Italian linesman, who is, to be fair, right in line. Sheu, a fixture in this side for many, many years. Veteran of some notable duels against Liverpool, which you may remember years ago. Benfica, Liverpool. And the glorious years when Liverpool were a force in Europe and were allowed to be by the behaviour of the fans in the stadia. Linskin. Lerby. Vandenborg. He's still having a go, and a shot that proves the first that Silvino has to save. Cyril Vandenborg, referred to as the little Brazilian, got a good curl on that, but the keeper had it well covered. It seemed as if PSV were prepared to up the tempo. And maybe it'll take someone like Vandenborg to do just that and impose a little authority and class on this game. On Arle. Keith power but not the direction in the shot. And indeed, manager betraying no emotion. Nielsen. And now it's Vandenborg again. Gerrits. Little under 10 minutes to half-time. No goals in the Neckar Stadium in Stuttgart. One back by Gerrits. Somewhat unconventionally. Lerby suggesting they get it forward. There's Linskens. The return was not good. Moser. Wholly undistinguished passage of play. And that's better. Pacheco. Again, Gerrits. Strong in the tackle. Classic full-back play from the Belgian international. Giving Benfica a throw-in. Just watch this for a tackle. Absolutely right. Timing perfect. Clean contact with the ball, and yet he gave a free kick. Kieft held that up well. Heinze. Little Dane. Nielsen. Linskens. Vandenborg. And now from Koeman it's Nielsen. Vandenborg. Off on a run. Went to Hillhouse, but then he stopped. I think that indicative of the fact that they've been encouraged not to overcommit themselves, both teams. On the basis that nobody remembers the loser. Nielsen committing the foul. You think of the great European Cup finals of the past, though, you do tend to remember the loser. Benfica were beaten 4-1 by Manchester United. There's that foul again. All over him he was. Benfica's last European Cup final 20 years ago, they went 4-1 down to Manchester United, but it was remembered as a great final. Real Madrid and Eintracht Frankfurt, 7-3 in Glasgow, 1960. We don't speak of that only as a Real final. That's Rui Aguas, and then falling over Nielsen. But he was looking for the foul there, there's no question about that. And making a total meal of it. Had the impression he'd wanted to go past the man, he had him beaten and then he ran into him. The referee fully justified in insisting he gets up and gets on. But watch this, he was away and then he ran across. Ran across Nielsen, down he went. Of course the player was, Nielsen was not getting out of his way, but had Aguas wanted to get past, the way was clear. Instead he took the free kick. They have the set piece. Percentage play. Pacheco with it. Sheu. And another free kick. Going back to that point, Tony wouldn't be the first coach to have told his players, if they're ever in or near the penalty box, to take the option of falling down, because that, of course, enables them to try and work on something that they've worked on the training pitch. They have another set piece in which to base an attack. Elzo with a free kick, totally wasted. No offside here. Linskin's putting it out of play. 5 minutes to half-time. PSV Eindhoven 0, Benfica 0. Good play by Pacheco. Van Breukelen thought about coming and did the sensible thing in staying put. Not overcommitting himself, and Van Aarle putting it out of play to give Benfica the corner. That, you'll note, was caused by a little bit of inspiration from Pacheco up the left. And he's gone across to take the corner. Benfica, though, with only 4 men in the penalty area. Well, everybody's back for PSV. Pacheco's corner, headed away by Lerbu. And that's a throw. In from Moza, and nobody there to put pressure on Van Breukelen. Linskins. Poor ball from Nielsen to Lerbu, but the second Dane recovered, made most of the first mistake. Elzo. Rui Aguas. And Magnussen was on his way through as Van Aarle got there. And it took Herretz to get back. It resulted in a corner. But that was better looking from Benfica. And Herretz had to look sharp to snuff out the danger, but he's done so at the expense of a corner. And Benfica, at long last, coming out of their shell. So Pacheco again to take the corner. Magnussen is on the goal line. Wheeling away now. Pacheco's corner. No trouble to Koeman. Alvaro. And Dito. And that was a no-no. You could describe that as a hospital pass. Koeman. Linskins. Lerbu. Nielsen. Lerbu. And again the winger didn't run for him. Now that has to be because they've been told not to commit themselves forward. Lerbu's attacking instinct sound, but nobody ran up the line for him, and it's not the first time it's happened. This is Vandenborg. But far too close to the goalkeeper. Keith was slow to go in to try and make anything of it. Silvino totally untroubled. Herretz. Vandenborg. And no bother to Dito. More trouble to Veloso. Did well to keep it in play. Van Aarle. Heinze. A handball there. Dito unable to keep his feet and determined not to let the ball run away. The free kick to PSV. Now their pragmatic approach has suggested that it's just such an opportunity that they've been patiently waiting for. They've played with no flair or invention and have been presented here with a free kick that right in the dying seconds of the first half has given them the opportunity to snatch something that they would scarcely deserve. Koeman is the further player away. Lerbu is there too, stockings around his ankles. We'll see if the wall is properly organised. Silvino not quite happy yet. Koeman, but the wall did its job. Did its job to the extent that Sheu has stayed on the deck. There's another Portuguese down, Brazilian to be precise, Chiquinho, playing for the Portuguese team. He's all right. Play will resume with a free kick. The referee unaware that Sheu is down. That's resulting from the wall doing its job. Appears that he took the full force of Koeman's shot. Goodness gracious. For a man who appeared to be dead to the world a moment ago, he's reacting in conspicuously vigorous fashion to the application of the ice pack. There's over a minute and a half of added time already gone at the end of the first half. Shea will have a half-time interval to recover. Free kick taken by Veloso. Magnussen. Not the most adept at playing it on the deck. Vandenborg. Peretz. And the overlap was played, and Alvaro cynically took him out of it with the use of the elbow. Free kick to PSV. And you can recall how little incident there's been in what's been an astonishingly poor European Cup final by the limited use of the replays that have been. Vandenborg's free kick, and headed away by Veloso, and time for no more at the end of the first half. A first half that has been singularly undistinguished, a first half ending with Veloso on the deck and injured, and a first half that neither side dominated, and so deservedly ended. Getting to this final. Red and white ribbons, because both play in red and white, so it won't matter who wins as far as the trophies decorations are concerned. But it would be nice to think that it would be won by something more exciting than what has gone before. Second half then kicked off by PSV, playing from right to left. But the logical conclusion is that if you play like this throughout the match and hope the other side will make a mistake and the other side doesn't, and you don't, then it's all going to be decided by the cruelest lottery of all, the penalty kick competition. But you'd like to think that ostensibly two of the better sides in Europe could provide something more like a spectacle than what we've seen in the opening 45 minutes. Goal kick to Benfica. The greater disappointment must surely be for those who expected more from the Dutch team, who like to consider themselves as one of the best in Europe. Benfica, rather more straightforward in their approach from their glory days. They set about getting here by organising their defence and moving things on from there, and have conceded only one goal on the way here. But PSV's coaches and record is saying that each attack begins with a goalkeeper. We see precious little of attack from the team in white. Herretz for the throw. And that results in a throw to Benfica. Illegal use of the chest on Pacheco gives Benfica a free kick. And knocks it away. Now it's Lerbu. Only had nothing right about that shot, did he? Pacheco. Played out of it by Herretz. Foul there by Dimkieft. The Portuguese defender gives a free kick to Benfica. On from Magnussen. Played up the line by Van Arle. Vandenborg getting no change at all out of Tito. Another good challenge by Herretz. The initial Dutch inclination seemed to be to play the ball backwards. And let's see if Heinze will move forward with it. No. Dwelling so long on it, and it's not surprising then there are no options open when they do move forward. Heinze once more. Koeman. Elzo. Quicker break was on there, but Nielsen saw it coming. The referee has seen a foul by Nielsen. Enough to annoy Eusebio. Magnussen. The return wasn't all that it might have been. Elzo. And deflected off Van Arle. The safety with Van Breukelen. You have to say they're a long way from the total footballing side that Ajax was, and on whom they've allegedly modelled themselves, and a very different team from the one that plays in the Dutch First Division. Deloso. Chiquinho. Unable to control it. Now, Lerby. Keeps. Poor ball through by Hillhouse. 5 minutes of the second half gone. Still no breakthrough. Moser. After that went Pacheco. Herretz again to the rescue. He's had a good game in his defensive role, Eric Herretz. And Eindhoven with Lerby. Keith. Hillhouse to his left. But again he opts to use the man coming in support from the back. Nielsen. Vandenborg. Vandenborg's cross blocked at the corner for PSV. A spark of entertaining football from the Dutch team. First corner of the second half to them. So Vandenborg to take it. Kilaus up, dropping to Lerbu. Trying to drill it through the Portuguese defender. And he very nearly won it back. But the player is still down. And Lerbu continues. Keeps going up. Nielsen. And a foul on Nielsen. Or was it a foul the other way? Rui Aguas, who blocked that half volley by Søren Lerbu and hasn't risen since, on the deck. The whistle had gone for a free kick to PSV. Nielsen was fouled. This is a shot, and that's how it happened, from virtually nowhere. Considerable pain. Rui Aguas. They don't want to sub on yet. Vando is the man they're thinking of bringing on. Another Brazilian. He's the one who's warming up. But they'll wait until they see if Rui Aguas is fit enough to continue before calling Vando into the action. So he should want to continue. Really rasping shot from Lerbu against the back of his thigh. Free kick to PSV. Vandenborg is there. Koeman to shoot. Another well-rehearsed move, but he didn't keep it down. Goal-scoring libero, Ronald Koeman. That's Vando. In the Brazilian squad for the 1986 World Cup as a late replacement for Toninho Cerezo, but he didn't play. Koeman. Keeps good control by a big player. Now Lerbu. He really delivers the pass forward at some pace, doesn't he? It demands instantaneous control from his teammate, and he didn't get that from Hans Kilaus. Vandenborg. Over the top for Heinze. Well, it easily dispossessed. Chiquinho. And Elzo back for Chiquinho, who has the legs of Lerbu and beat him rather well. But Lerbu getting a second bite. Still Chiquinho though. Elzo. Chiquinho outside him if he wants. And Elzo going down off Lerbu. Benfica have got the free kick. So a little bit of Brazilian flair unhinging the Dutch defence in the left-back position. And a free kick to Benfica is what has resulted. Vando still there. They are preparing to send him on. 11 minutes into the second half. And they want to take off Sheu. But in fact, Rui Aguas is the one who does go off after being struck by that firmly driven shot by Søren Lerbu. There's the free kick from Pacheco. But it'll have to be taken again because the the wall was not far enough back. And not much doubt that it was the injury occasioned by the shot from Søren Lerbu that has taken Aguas out of the game. Once again, Pacheco. The free kick rolled this time for Veloso, the full-back. Blocked by Vandenborg. And there's another Portuguese on the deck in the Dutch penalty area. Moser. I say Portuguese, he is in fact Brazilian. An incident there off the ball. And as they all peeled away from the penalty area, Moser was on the ground. And it's Eric Herretz who's being spoken to by the referee. Whether that's just a little captain's intervention that's being politely shied away by the ref, or whether in fact he saw something off the ball. But Moser is down. And the word from the trainer's bench is that it's a thigh injury, as correctly interpreted from here, it might be said, that had been the reason for his substitution. Magnussen. Lerby. A bit more life about the game now. There's always that little check. When the run is on, the player, particularly in PSV, seems always inclined to check, to just wait until others come and support. Use the word before, use it again. Conservative in their approach, they really are. Vandenborg. Foul. Alvaro, the injured innocent. And Lerbu there to take the free kick. Herretz goes outside. Lerbu for Herretz. Lerbu again. Nielsen there. And the keeper claims it. When the element of surprise is lacking from the play of both sides, it's hardly to be wondered at that neither has achieved a breakthrough against what have been well-organised defences. Free kick against PSV. John Vandenborg. Now Chiquinho. One back by Lerbu. Vandenborg. And over the top for Hillhouse to chase. And that was a good incisive ball, but what a poor finish. And the first ball of any perception has been played in this European Cup final, 61 minutes into it. Such a good ball it was too from Vandenborg, who's looked the most influential of the PSV midfielders. And what a Haskellhouse made of it. Lerby, meanwhile, puts it back to Van Breukelen. Nielsen. Vandenborg. Perhaps that'll encourage him. Well, he too into the reverse mode. Van Arle. Kieft. Herretz offered him a good overlap. Pull back now for Linskins. Keith again. Keith with a shot, no pace in it. But suddenly PSV have sparked into life. The ball is played square or knocked back. It's giving Benfica all the time in the world to organise. Every possibility of surprise is then eliminated. And it's only when you get a ball like that played by Van den Borg that you're likely to get the defence opened up. Benfica now try to play some football of their own. Alvaro losing possession because he was fouled to the left. Free kick. Kelzo. This is a good run by Dito. But then Sheu unable to get the cross in. Off Van den Borg it went. Throw to Benfica. Sheu to take it. Wasted opportunity. And a foul on the Dutch defender by Benfica. So a free kick. Van Aale. Heinze. Van den Borg. Tries for the early ball and he's won the corner. Van den Borg to take it. Keeps rising. Keeper lost it. It's come back to Van den Borg. And the second corner. And the goalkeeper wants attention. The Portuguese team claiming that Silvino was fouled. Here's the corner from behind the goal, and what resulted, in fact, it's the leading to the second corner. It's not what preceded that piece of action when the goalkeeper was hurt. And he would appear to have damaged the muscle as well. Here's the corner once more. Watch, the goalkeeper comes, jumps, loses it, and seems to fall rather awkwardly. Well, not that awkwardly, but he needs attention. There's flags from the PSV fans who says that something might be on now. Corner once more, and this time the keeper safe. Magnussen losing to Lerbu. Nielsen, Lerbu. Linskins seemed reluctant to run onto that ball until it was played, and consequently lost the impetus. So here come Benfica. Substitute Vando starting the move and carrying it on. And again, Gerrits, solid in defence. And a great defender for many years, Eric Gerrits. Battling on again, totally fairly, and PSV of the ball. Lerbu out of defence, and Koeman. Koeman the sweeper moving forward. Now, Van den Berg skipping away from that challenge, but not the second one. And it's Veloso who was instrumental in dispossessing him, playing it up the line to the number 8 Pacheco, who does not get a foul. Or does he? Yes, he does. Midway through the second half, and now move into the final quarter of the game. And it's as it was at the very start. PSV Eindhoven 0, Benfica 0. Free kick played towards Magnussen, headed away by Lerbu. Van den Berg. And Gerrits. Lerbu. Keeps. Van den Berg. And that's off Van den Berg for a throw to Benfica. In this phase of the game, PSV, when they do apply themselves to the task of attacking in numbers, do look the more dangerous. Chiquinho. Koeman. Hillhouse. Easily robbed. Sheu. Magnussen. Equally easily dispossessed, but there was a man backing him up. Elzo. Veloso. Alvaro. Good overlap here by the substitute Rondo. Goal kick. Scarcely believe that. He's looked sharp up the left, Rondo, the Brazilian, since his introduction in place of Rui Aguas. Lerbu. Keeps. Koeman. What a poor ball. There was no Dutchman there where he was playing it anyway. He's got the rebound and he's got the throw. But it was a very strange ball to play. Van den Berg, Lerby, and Keeps has taken up good position. Lerby again. Koeman. Nielsen. And once more. Played in towards Hillhouse, but too close to Silvino. 20 minutes to go. No score. PSV Eindhoven against Benfica. Chiquinho couldn't keep the ball in play. Throw to Benfica. Pacheco. Tito. Lerby. Van den Berg. Overlap provided by Heinze. And that was good running by the fullback. Heinze. Keith just couldn't connect with it. Lerbu sliding in. Now Van den Berg. And down it goes for Keith and Van den Berg. And the keeper saved it. And Van den Berg denied by unorthodox goalkeeping. He it was who was instrumental in the move. But what a great ball for Heinze coming in round the back here to unhinge the defence. That posed all the problems. Keith couldn't quite direct it onto the goal there. The ball then pulled back by Heinze. Lerbu keeping it going. And eventually, what we would have seen was the goalkeeper making a quite astonishing save with his legs. That coming after 71 minutes. PSV very nearly with a goal. Van Dona against Heret at the other end. And once more, the defender sliding in, winning the ball back. PSV's captain and a stout game in defence. And that was an indication of what might have happened if PSV had actually come out and attacked Benfica. Wearing their role or their mantle as favourites in this final, with some difficulty it would appear. Oppressed by the status accorded them by their form through the season. That's PSV Eindhoven. And with 17 minutes to go, it's still 0-0 against Benfica. Chiquinho. One back by Vandenborg. Now, Van Arle. A good strong run, and again a Portuguese boot goes missing as Van Arle continues forward and headed out of play by Moser. Once more, determination from the Dutch, and once more Benfica rattled. And when you see that, you wonder why it's taken them over 70 minutes to actually try it on. The impression is definitely there that had PSV gone at Benfica as they might have been expected to, then the game could have been over as a contest long ago, and the European Cup could be safely in their possession. As it is, it's not. It's still 0-0, and PSV have a corner. Moser heading away. Heret's down again for Keith. Delivered back into the danger zone. Lerbu! And somehow Nielsen just could not put it in. The old Danish 1-2, well delivered back by Keith. Lerbu knocked it back across the danger zone. Nielsen was right there, but couldn't direct it onto the goal. But Lerbu did exactly the right thing, putting it back with a defence pulled one way and then the other, putting it back into the middle in the hope that someone would tuck it away. Unfortunately for PSV, it wasn't Keith the striker who was there, but Nielsen the defender. And it stays 0-0. PSV said before the game they didn't want to make the mistake of underestimating Benfica, as Bayern Munich had done with Porto last year, and Bayern paid the price by losing a 1-0 lead and the European Cup on the finish. But surely there's a difference between underestimation and a refusal to come out and impress your superiority. There's a quarter of an hour still to go. PSV, who've shown in the last 5 minutes just what they are capable of, have failed to break down Benfica, and have no one to blame but themselves. Keith. Lerby. Nielsen. And that was Van Arle going backwards. Hillhouse mistiming his jump. Here he comes again. And the shot rebounded from Veloso and has gone for a corner to PSV. Hillhouse, the highly rated striker, top scorer in the European Cup for PSV with 3 goals, has been off form tonight. Vandenborg's corner. Down it falls towards Koeman, cleared by Elzo. Magnussen. The ever-dependable Herretz is there. Koeman. And Hillhouse has gone on a run. And Hillhouse goes down, and no penalty, but Hillhouse is still in possession. Vandenborg, just a whisker away. And as if to prove the point, again the ball delivered early from the back, this time by Koeman. Hillhouse was after it like a hare. And was this a penalty? I think he was most definitely pushed there. And the referee was well positioned to see it. And wasn't in the slightest interested. And Vandenborg tried to pick his spot wide of the keeper and couldn't put it away. The final phase of this European Cup decider. PSV Eindhoven playing as they might have been expected to, and very nearly getting the reward. But here's Van der, the substitute, and Van Breukelen beaten. But Magnussen, who might have gone sliding in, stayed in his feet, and the chance was gone. For once, the defence was beaten. Van Do's shot. Van Breukelen, well, he was well positioned, but Magnussen didn't go in as he might have done. But Benfica might have stolen one there. Linskens, Vandenborg, and Koeman. "21 goals for the back in Dutch football, including one, the European Cup." Well, I think you've got to question his tactics. Benfica weren't worthy of the respect that he showed them. And as a result, he's now sweating on a 0-0 situation with just 11 minutes to go. A little bit of boldness never did anyone any harm. Certainly boldness was what characterised the great Dutch teams, from Ajax to the club team to the Dutch Masters in the World Cup. They were never afraid to attack the opposition. The PSV for three-quarters of this match were exactly so afraid. And it's only since they come out of their shell, rather late in the day, that they've shown that they do indeed carry a threat. Magnussen. Van Do. Herretz eventually taking the feet from under him. The referee not interested in the free kick. He's been very liberal in his interpretation of the laws. Lerbu. Koeman. Off goes Hillhouse. Down he goes this time. And again, the referee indicating it was a fair shoulder charge. Elzo. Veloso. Chiquinho. And a blatant body check by Heinze there on Pacheco. Free kick to Benfica. 9.5 minutes of normal time to go. Elzo. Lerbu's tackle was sound, and here he is again on the ball. Poor pass though. Alvaro. And Nielsen coming in to win it back. Herretz. Nielsen continuing outside. Herretz dwelling too long on it. And if Benfica can strike quickly, the PSV defence is unbalanced. Alvaro not up to it. Linskens to Lerbu. Vandenborg. Nielsen and Lerbu. Over the top to Vandenborg. And Silvino again to the rescue. That was a classic save. A very good move by PSV. And Silvino's reactions were tested and were not found to be lacking. A very good stop by the Portuguese keeper. And that coming with just 8 minutes to go. Vandenborg again going in. PSV have won the throw. Kieft. Now Gerrit. Van Aerle. Well, the quality of that pass was on a par with the quality of PSV's performance for the first 3 quarters of the game. And it's a sad reflection of the state of European football if these are the 2 best who've fought through to the final. And with a Real Madrid, much vaunted, who couldn't dispose of PSV in the semi-final. Free kick to Benfica. It would tend to imply that rather as Liverpool ran away from a bad chasing English pack, so the chasing pack in Holland wasn't up to much either, if PSV were able to dominate the Dutch league in such fashion. Linsken's falling over, having been tripped by Vando. Free kick to PSV. Linskens. He was really in about 3 minds there, and in the end delivered a nothing ball, but Kieft has done well to make something of it. Linskens. Koeman. Now, Pacheco. Magnussen. And Magnussen falling over Koeman. And that's a free kick. I'm sure the point will be made that Benfica have done their defending job well. But when you think of that, if you look at uncouth defending by Koeman and Magnussen, when you bear that in mind, you've also got to bear in mind just how PSV have managed to make the Benfica defence look very average when they put their mind to it. Which sadly, for the quality of the final that we've been watching, hasn't been often enough. Just over 5 minutes to go. Benfica's free kick. And the wall again did its job. Elzo. Veloso. Played towards Vando. Goal kick PSV. Well, it's not a Benfica team of the quality of the days of yore that he has assembled, but it's done its job. Abetted by the reluctance of PSV Eindhoven to commit themselves to attack. We have a stalemate. But if it doesn't resolve itself in the next 5 minutes, will bring us to extra time. Søren Lerbu. Nielsen totally misjudged the bounce there. Vando. Chiquinho to his left. Vando on the run. And through the middle for Magnussen is a mile offside. Advantage played by the referee. But the central striker in one of the top 2 teams in Europe, and he can't keep himself even nearly onside. And then the other side goes and puts the ball out with a pass like that. This really has been a final of appalling quality. Sheu. Alvaro. And out of Gerrit, whose defensive performance as the PSV right back has been one of the very few highlights. Again, Gerrit's in, totally fairly. Koeman. And nobody even made the remotest attempt to get in position to make anything of that long clearance from Van Breukelen. It would appear with 3 minutes to go that the Dutch have settled for conserving their energies. Once more, Herretz with an outstanding tackle. Have settled for conserving their energy and playing another 30 minutes. Kieft. Corner. Well, he has looked potentially dangerous, if only sporadically. 2.5 minutes to go. The chance to collect the winner. Vandenberg's corner. Kieft's header. Well, totally lacked conviction, as did Silvino's punch. Koeman, the whistle's gone anyway. Foul. Foul by one of the Dutch team's attackers. Well, he may well look quizzical, but if he'd committed his team to attack, I do feel they could have won this handily enough. Free kick to Benfica. The seconds tick away. That was Alvaro going forward, and it's a throw to Benfica. And this final, ranking very much alongside that played in Seville 2 years ago, when the pragmatic Steaua Bucharest held the uninspired Barcelona scoreless over 120 minutes, and then, thanks to an inspired performance from their goalkeeper Helmut Dukadam, beat Barcelona on penalties on a night when Barcelona, had they applied themselves properly, would surely have won the cup. PSV run the risk of going exactly the same way. With half a minute to go, just over, and we're now staring extra time straight in the face. Extra time for the third time in 5 finals. I think he can go and put the kettle on, which is going to last another while. The 45 minutes of the second half of elapsed. Another boot goes off. Pacheco loses his boot once again, and he's going to play in bare feet now. Absolutely furious. Well, that, I have to say, rather sums up the quality of this match. And the Portuguese team can't keep their boots on. They've come badly enough prepared, you'd really think. We're in added time, by the way, and PSV have won a free kick. It is, of course, quite within the referee's power to prevent a player from carrying on with no footwear, because he'd be in danger of injuring himself. So the man in question, Pacheco, has put the boots back on. And PSV's free kick, and Koeman plants it straight into the solar plexus of Silvino. And 1 minute of added time has been played. And Silvino certainly thinking in nothing more than terms of extra time. Get it. Alvaro. Away by Nielsen. Elzo. And the whistle sounds to bring it to an end. An anticlimactic way for the 90 minutes to end, which means 30 more. We can only hope it improves. Back after this break. And Benfica start the first of those, playing right to left. Gerrits, Linskens. Trying to get it through to Vandenberg. Now it's with Van Dole. Again, Gerrits makes a good challenge. And Gerrits into the header, out of play. Throw to Benfica. Sheu. This time round Gerrits, but not round Serra-Lerby. Sheu trying to set up the attack for Chiquinho. That didn't come off. Now, Vandenberg. Played through for Kieft, it stayed onside well. No one in the middle as yet for him. Tim Kieft didn't deliver quite the pass that he might have. And on that occasion, Hilos was offside. A minute then of the first period of extra time gone. 2 halves of 15 minutes, giving a total of 2 hours played. And if it's still level at the end of 120 minutes of this 33rd European Cup final, then there will be a penalty shootout. 5 penalties for each side, and if it's all square after that, then it's sudden death. But one way or the other, we will get a decision. Free kick to Benfica. Pacheco. Goal kick to Van Breukelen. That's Pacheco. He's been down this road before in the Cup Winners' Cup with Porto when they lost the Juventus 4 years ago. This continuing European Cup final, an unexpected delight. If you tuned in expecting something else, I'm afraid you'll have to put up with the football for half an hour. I have to say it hasn't been very inspired so far. We're in extra time. It's Benfica of Portugal in red, playing PSV Eindhoven of Holland in white. And Benfica playing right to left have yet to score, which is exactly the situation that applies to PSV Eindhoven. No goals and 93 minutes played. Extra time for the 3rd time in 5 seasons in the European Cup. Lerby for PSV Eindhoven. Nielsen. And easily dispossessed by Vando. Good challenge, equally good by Heinze. Jan Heinze, one of the 3 Danish internationals in Gus Hiddink's side. Moser, poor pass. Gerrits to Lerby. Heinze. Hilos. Lerby. Gerrits forward for Kieft. Tried to get it back to Vandenberg, but it was cut out by Alvaro here, number 4. Throw to PSV. The one bright spot's been the glorious evening it's been. Still shirt sleeve weather, although in Germany it's a 10:15 at night. Gerrits. No trouble to Alvaro. Vando. For once, Herets found wanting in the challenge. Played in towards Chiquinho, the other Brazilian. Tidied up by Nielsen. Koeman. Herets. Koeman once more. And thanks to Magnussen's back, it's found its way to Elzo. Around Nielsen with some ease. That's played through to Vando, the substitute. And Vando bundled off the ball by Benny Van Aale. Van Aale could expect to be in the Dutch squad for the European Championships next month. Here was the challenge, and that was the foul. Giving Benfica a free kick. Struck firmly by Moser. It's gone to the other number 5, who is Jan Heinze. Back to Van Breukelen. Lerby. Almost inevitably it finds its way back to the goalkeeper. Well, Lerby's been penalised for saying too much to the referee. He appears to have been fouled. The referee played at an advantage of dubious quality, and eventually the free kick's given against Lerby. To be headed away by Moser. Chiquinho, Magnussen. Now Benfica attempts to build an attack on the right side of the pitch. Alonso, Elzo. Linskens for PSV. Wim Kieft. Koeman. Now it's Vando. Chiquinho. These two Brazilians are combining to greater effect as the game has worn on. Alonso. Pacheco. Free kick. Heinze fouling Pacheco. And that was how. There's the free kick. Meat and drink to Koeman. Alvaro. Then goes Magnussen, and Van Breukelen heading it outside his penalty area. Quite legitimate, of course, as long as he doesn't handle it. Sheu. Facing Herets. Koeman heading it away. Herets again. Look at the old legs of Eric Herets, 34 last Wednesday. Beginning to tire a bit. He didn't slide in with his usual accuracy. 10 minutes of extra time gone. Keith. Salvador, the Benfica left back. And that was the Benfica coach, Tony. Foul by Keith. This time the foul goes PSV Eindhoven's way. Keith. Koeman. Keith again. Whistle had gone for a free kick. Foul against Alvaro. And in came Vando just to prevent Koeman taking the kick when he wanted to. A bit of gamesmanship on the part of the Brazilian. It was Eusebio we just saw there, who's assistant coach to Benfica. Koeman with the free kick for PSV. Cleared by Moser. Heinze. And Pacheco and Heinze between them, falling to the floor. The free kick has been awarded to PSV. And it's now with Lerby. Koeman. Gerrit. That was for Keith. But with him all the way went Dito. And Sovino was able to claim it. Elzo. Magnusson. Veloso. Still the fullback. And a fair old shot. Finally taking the responsibility of trying to find a way through. Veloso delivering a stinging left foot shot, but Van Boyselen properly placed. Gerrit. And there's movement ahead of him now. Linskens offered the wide support. Vandenborg. For Linskens again. Vandenborg. Keith held off by Veloso. Linskens. Nielsen. And now it's with Lerby. Played forward to Vandenborg. Veloso through Lerby's challenge. Magnusson, the only man up is Vando in the middle. Magnusson tried to get it through to Vando, but played through the wrong channel. Vando, the substitute, has looked sharp, but the support has been poor. Lerby. And still. And we're now just seeing attack after attack running up a blind alley. Or are we? Well, yes. As the first 15 minutes expires. Second half of extra time, second period of extra time begins. PSV Eindhoven in white then right to left against the Eagles of Lisbon. 15 minutes to score, and if they don't, it's a penalty shootout. Vandenberg eventually cleared by Dito. Accidental handball. And Pacheco away with the ball. Rode the first challenge well, didn't right Lerbu. He'll make a meal of that. And Lerbu being taken to one side and then told not to indulge in that. And in fact, the stronger talking to is to the Portuguese bench. Well, he is going to talk to Søren Lerbu, I feel, for what was an appalling challenge. Knee high. And the name of Søren Lerbu goes in the book. For that foul on Pacheco. Clearly something was said from the Portuguese bench to suggest that the referee wasn't doing his job properly. PSV make their first substitution. On goes number 14, Anton Janssen, who joined him at Christmas from Fortuna Sittard, in place of the very disappointing Hans Stillhaus. Janssen, like Stillhaus, a left-sided midfield player. And as I say, is the first change that PSV Eindhoven have made. And the game will resume after a minute's stoppage with a free kick to Benfica, taken by Veloso. Koeman in just the right place. Well, Lerby's name the first to go in the referee's book. It's been a curiously passionless cup final. There's a corner to PSV. And that may be too reflected in the fact that no one has felt aggrieved enough to take the law into their own hands. Corner to PSV to be taken by Gerald Vandenborg. Nielsen couldn't make contact. It's now with Koeman. And knocked away by Sheu. Throw to Benfica. That was meant to be a ball for Magnusson, but it was as much use to him as it will be to us up here on the stand. Played by Chiquinho. You expect better from a Brazilian, don't you? Vandenborg. One back for Benfica by Veloso. Gerald Vandenborg, one of the brighter players on the PSV side. Lerby. Janssen. Ball meant for Lerby. Janssen fortunate to get it back. Koeman. Magnusson. And Alvaro. Chiquinho's in the middle. He's gone for Vando on the wing. Vando's cross. Headed out by Van Aale. Now Gerrit. Straight for Vandenborg. And Moser got the challenge in. The ball not out of play. And Moser losing his footing. Vandenborg has it. Keith. And Janssen couldn't quite get there. The ball's out. Corner to PSV. But that's twice Keith in good positions has been unable to make the most of it. A gift of it to PSV. Keith, the striker, went at it all wrong. And back live, the attack lacked conviction. Magnusson. Cut out by Lerbu. Koeman. Lerbu. Towards Koeman again. Comes out to Nielsen. Vandenborg. Koeman. And Janssen. And Lerbu. And Janssen, it appeared, was unwilling to take responsibility on himself. Koeman played the ball across. That's Janssen, knocking it back to Lerbu. Well, perhaps it was the right thing to do, but Lerbu's shooting boots have not made an appearance in Stuttgart tonight. You almost feel there was a resignation on the part of these players, but they're going to let it go until the end and then try their best for the penalty shootout. We're looking at Hadjri, the Moroccan. He goes on, and Mats Magnusson comes off. 9 minutes. Hadjri has to make his impact. Magnusson, a big centre forward in the old blockbuster style. Cut a little ice against the well-organised PSV defence. North African was instrumental in Porto's winning of the European Cup last year. Madja, the Algerian. Maybe they feel that history might repeat itself and that the Moroccan Hadjri might do something for Benfica. 9 minutes only he has to contribute. And that's the last card played by Tony, the Benfica coach. Kondo. Also unable to control it. Janssen. A strong run by the player with a fresh leg. Back goes Veloso. Janssen's cross. There's Keith. And he's looked composed, except in that area where you'd expect the striker to be at his most effective, in the penalty box. Wim Keith. Chiquinho. Van Arle was back. Offside. Koeman, and Janssen's in some space, and no wonder he's in space, he's offside. Hadjri. Hadjri trying to find a way through the middle, but too many white shirts around. Vandenborg. Van Arle, a rare foray up front. And Veloso closing the door. Just over 5 minutes to go in extra time in the 1988 European Cup final. PSV Eindhoven 0, Benfica 0. Wim Kieft, PSV. And that's found its way to Pacheco. Veloso and Elzo. Hurrying back is Heinze. Free kick is not awarded. Eindhoven move forward again. Koeman. Handball against Veloso. And it's Ronald Koeman all the way across the Gerrits. Koeman forward again. There was no danger of an own goal there, but Veloso content to put it away for the corner. The keeper made it rather more dramatic than it needed to be. Veloso always knew what he was doing. But PSV fortunate to have this position. Vandenborg to take it. Keefe goes up, the keeper was decisive. And it's Van Doo. Only man up was Chiquinho. The other substitute, Hadjri, is there. Van Arle, last man back. Three and a half minutes, just over, to go in extra time. Koeman. Now it's Pacheco. Was clumsily challenged by Heinze. Means a free kick to Benfica. Taken by the fullback Veloso. Now Dito. And Hadjri to Alvaro. Hadjri again. Sheu. Vandenborg. Van Arle. Keefe wide to the right. Played towards him. And now Vandenborg. Janssen out left. Vandenborg over Keefe. Gerrits goes in the overlap. Keefe plays the cross towards Janssen. And it's blocked by Veloso, and it's a corner to PSV. Just over 2 minutes of extra time to go. Ronald Koeman with a corner. No offside here. But the referee had blown anyway. The linesman didn't flag, but the referee blew. And just with 90 seconds left about this match, I think you could say in summary that what really indicative of how it went was that neither goal was really threatened in 18, 19 minutes now. Sure, the goalkeepers had saves to make, but the shots, the headers, the few that there were, went straight at them. Singularly lacking in inspiration. Two teams unable to rise to the occasion. One, Benfica, one suspect, not in a position to rise to the occasion, not of the quality of the opposition. But PSV playing a very conservative game and really not deserving to be ahead of Benfica at this stage. And it would be ironic and indeed rough justice if it were to go to penalties and Benfica were to win it. Because PSV, I feel certain, had it within their gift to win this match if only they'd applied themselves, as they nearly did then. But for 70 minutes of the first half, they were so withdrawn, held themselves back. But again, not a real threat on the goal. The goalkeeper on top of it. And we're now 15 seconds from the end of a thoroughly undistinguished contest, which is going to be decided in that most undistinguished of fashions by a penalty shootout. That is, unless Sheu can work the oracle. Lerby has beaten him. He can afford to smile. The Portuguese is down and they've got their corner. Wounded pride more than anything else, I'd have thought, on the part of the veteran. All it's doing is prolonging the agony. And the referee has the ball. And that is the end. It is a penalty shootout. An anticlimactic end to an anticlimactic occasion. We have a penalty shootout to come, and that will follow this break. 0-0 the final score. Appear to be suggesting that, yes, Herretz has elected to have his side take the first penalty. If we think back to that lackluster final 2 years ago in Seville, Steaua Bucharest and Barcelona, the much-vaunted Barcelona team actually failed to score from the penalty spot, and the penalty shootout was won 2-0. Could you believe that? It actually happened in Seville, and anything is possible here. Two sides, neither of which has threatened to score. Now have 5 opportunities each, and if it's all square at the end of that, then it goes to sudden death. Not quite the first man to miss, but the first man to miss in sequence, or to score if the preceding kick has been passed up. The first to shoot is Ronald Koeman of PSV Eindhoven against Silvino, the Portuguese goalkeeper. Biggest cheer we've heard all night, and the first penalty safely home from Koeman. Linesman notes the numbers to make sure no one takes the kick twice. And going up now is Elzo, 12 times capped for his native Brazil. And the man who kept Falcao out of the Brazilian national team last season. And he will face Hans van Breukelen, former Nottingham Forest goalkeeper, former Utrecht goalkeeper, and now the PSV Eindhoven goalkeeper. It's a lonely old walk up there, isn't it, for the man taking the kick? But a professional footballer should be able to put them away from 12 yards. And mind you, don't remind John Aldridge of that. Elzo walked up with a singular lack of conviction. As he got conviction in the shot? Let's see. Well, he did. And for the first time this evening, he smiled. So, it's as you were. Wim Kieft, Dutch international centre forward, went to Italy, played with Pisa and Torino there. Wasn't exactly the most successful. Though he did win Europe's Golden Boot in 1982 with 32 goals for Holland. For Ajax in Holland, rather. Has he got the one for PSV? Silvino nearly got it right. But Keith can breathe again, and that's his moment of torture over. And it's 2-1. And Dito, Portugal's national team's captain of the moment, with a job and a half to do. Pressure always on in a penalty shootout, but more particularly if you're following a man who's just been successful. But he strode purposefully up to that. Now will Van Breukelen get it right? Not a chance. 2-2. They've been much more clinical in their finishing from the penalty spot than anything they threatened during the 120 minutes that preceded. Up now goes Ivan Nielsen, Danish defender. He'll be back in Germany for the European Championships in a fortnight. Formerly with Feyenoord. Moved on to PSV after the Mexico World Cup. This man is a plumber by trade. Is he going to leave a leak behind him? No. 3-2. Plugged the gap expertly. And not a penalty has been missed out of the first 5. So it's the substitute Hajri, the Moroccan, to take kick number 6. 3-2 to PSV Eindhoven. If Hajri misses this, it's not all over. For PSV have 2 more to take, and so too to Benfica. But the pressure is on the Moroccan. Van Breukelen has nothing to lose. Well, if he'd stayed at his feet, he might have saved it. 3-3. Guessed right, but a dive too low. Hajri's chore completed. It's now Gerald Vandenborg. Possibly the nearest thing to a success the Dutch team had on the night in an attacking role. For me, though, Herrits, the captain, played exceedingly well at fullback, but Vandenborg, this fella here, looked the part as a midfield player when he gave himself the opportunity so to do. Vandenborg against Silvino. 3-3 it stands, each side with 2 penalties to take. And there was a confident young man, Gerald Vandenborg. Confidence born of 21 international appearances. And the trauma over for him. And it's now Pacheco. This is where it gets really interesting. The margin for error decreasing with each penalty kick. Elfmeter schießen, they call it in German, shooting from the 11-meter mark, 11 meters equaling 12 yards. And Pacheco with one of the 2 last kicks for Benfica. If he misses this and PSV score their next one, it's all over. He didn't miss, did he? 4-4. And for the first time on a balmy evening in Stuttgart, the tension is almost palpable. Søren Lerbu, the great Dane, he's the man who's going to take the decisive kick for PSV. Decisive in that if he converts it, then at least they're still in the hunt, and the worst that'll happen is that it'll go to a 6th penalty. Lerbu, 30 years of age, back here with Denmark too, later, 2 weeks from now. So the old experienced hand to take PSV's final penalty and score it. Which means that the winning and the losing of the European Cup is in the hands, or rather the feet, of a Brazilian. Moser, the centre half, Jose Carlos Moser, 26 years of age, 18 caps for Brazil, and with Benfica only since last summer, and has the opportunity of keeping them in this hunt. This to stay alive in the European Cup final. So the keeper moved a week too soon, but Moser did what he had to do. And impeccable penalty taking means that we now move to the sudden death stage. Quite simply, they'll each get a kick in turn. If PSV miss and Benfica score, it's Benfica's cup. If PSV score, Benfica gets a chance to equalise, and so it goes to the next penalty kick. But if PSV score and Benfica miss, then obviously it's PSV's trophy. And after all that, it's the substitute Anton Janssen, a PSV player only since Christmas time. Came from Fortuna Sittard. On as a second half substitute. In fact, an extra time substitute. And here he goes. As soon as you like. On for 29 minutes of the extra time period, and now with a penalty to his credit. And it's Veloso, the fullback, who, like Moser before him, has the kick that means Benfica will either stay in the hunt or pass up the European Cup. What pressure to put him under. 3 minutes to 11 on a Wednesday evening in Stuttgart. And this Portuguese fullback has all the responsibility on his shoulders. And Van Breukelen has won the European Cup for PSV. A kick which totally lacked conviction from the Benfica fullback, and PSV have stolen the European Cup. They can show their delight and their enthusiasm now, but as winners of this trophy for the very first time, they rank some way down in the list of all-time greats. A performance that lasted 120 minutes, and only for 50 of those did they play with anything like the conviction of a team that believed in its role as favourites. Conservative in the extreme, and in the end, winning it in the cruelest way possible when the Portuguese fullback Veloso made a hash of his penalty, giving Hans Van Breukelen, the PSV goalkeeper, the chance to make the save to win it. And in keeping with the night that went before it, I'd have to say that it was more a penalty miss than a penalty save. And so PSV, in their 75th anniversary year, having won the Dutch Championship for a third time in a row, win the European Cup thanks to this. He shimmied and he shuffled on his way to take the kick. He shaped to put it to Van Breukelen's right, and the keeper had no problem in guessing correctly and making the save. Half-heartedly struck, easily stopped, and it's PSV's trophy. And they look back and say, wasn't it marvellous, and weren't we the European champions? But they're a long, long way off the great teams of yore, the Bayern Munichs, the Reals and the Ajaxes. Eric Gerrits, it won't matter to him. 2 foot 6 inches of European Cup. And PSV Eindhoven for the very first time. But they came here trumpeted as the latest exponents of that masterpiece of Dutch footballing invention, total football. And they fell a long, long way short of what we expected them to achieve. Winning the trophy in the penalty shootout 6-5.